Hey, everybody. My name's Rebecca Giannini. I'm a parenting and relationship coach, and this is my group. If you have found yourself here, it is because you care about yourself, your relationships, and you want to have the best relationships of your life. You might not know yet that that's where you're headed by joining our group, but that's where we're headed. So if you're here, come along with us. I go live every single week on Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I talk about all sorts of things. So many things that are related to relationships and improving our communication, healing generational trauma, eliminating yelling, gentle parenting, you name it, we talk about it. Tonight, what we're talking about is the 4 trauma responses, because what happens is we are often in a trauma response and we're responding to people from that response, and we're not able to respond in the way that we want to. So when I say the trauma responses, I'm talking about fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. Most people are familiar with fight or flight, but they have a lot of people haven't heard of fawn or freeze. So our brain sort of takes over, our body and our brain work together to sort of take over when we feel like there's some sort of a threat. Now, sometimes we are responding to a threat that isn't actually there, but the feeling is what we're responding to. So we might be actually safe, but we're responding as if we are being threatened. So for example, in one of our group coaching sessions, I was talking to a mom who goes into her daughter's room and sees a mess and is instantly filled with rage. So she would be navigating a fight response. And what happens is she goes into the child's room and it feels like there's an immediate threat. The threat is the room is a mess. So she's not actually unsafe, but in her body, it does feel like she's actually unsafe. And so we talk through it. And when we sort of uncovered what the actual threat was, when she was a kid, she used to get, in huge amounts of trouble and was emotionally punished for having a dirty room. So when she experiences that, there's a part of her body that's remembering her past, and she sees that messy room and it registers for her as a threat, even though she's not a child anymore. She's not going to get in trouble anymore. She gets to decide how she runs her home, but her body remembers that old threat and is responding as if that threat is still present. And so that happens in our relationships. It happens all the time. And we want to get better at recognizing when we are in one of the trauma responses, because so much of our interactions with others in relationships that trigger us are we're responding in one of our trauma responses, and we're responding, maybe 90% to what happened before and 10% what's actually happening in front of us. So we want to learn to separate those so that we can respond to what's in front of us, and then do our healing work around that 90% that our body's remembering, but we're not thinking is at play. So that's part of it. But before I get back into that, I want to talk a little bit about the 4 different trauma responses. So like I mentioned, we have fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. So fight is what happens when we feel like we can match the threat. And I don't mean that you are actively thinking, oh, I'm going to fight them. I am going to match their level of anger, and I am going to get big and loud. But that's really what your body does. Your body and your brain work together to kind of scan the environment like in an instant. And your body decides, can I match this threat? Can I match this threat? And if so, your body will allow you to be in a fight response. If your body does that scan and it realizes, I can't win here, it's not going to make sense for you to be in a fight response. So you might be in flight, or you might be in freeze, where you're sort of hyper vigilant and you're paying close attention and you're trying to manage the threat by observing. Flight is pretty self-explanatory. It means that we get out of there. It means that we run. It means that we, if we can't physically run, we might shut down. So let's say, for an example, as a kid, you can't match the threat with your parents, who are bigger and louder and stronger. So you can't be in fight, maybe, but you can't leave either. You might be in emotional flight, or you might be in freeze. So emotional flight might be shutting down, going inward, kind of numbing out, dissociating. Like I said, freeze would be kind of sort of like playing dead, or like the deer in the headlights, like kind of waiting for the threat to pass, being hypervigilant, studying the situation, noticing all the details, figuring out the best way to navigate the situation. Usually people who are in freeze are super observant at that time. Then there's also fawn. So fawn is when I can't fight to meet the threat, and I can't get out of there, and I can't freeze, I might fawn. Fawn is moving toward the threat and trying to people please. So trying to manage the threat through pleasing that person, or through pleasing the threat. So if you have a tendency toward people pleasing, you have probably an overdeveloped fawn response, which is, I will manage your expectations. I will manage your emotional experience over my own. I will abandon myself. I will abandon what I want to need to manage yours, to manage your needs, so that you stay happy. And if you stay happy, then I will stay safe. That's fawn. So it's also important to know that in different relationships, you might navigate, you might have different responses. So it could be that in relationship to your dad, you might have been in a fawn response, whereas in relationship to your mom, you might have been in a fight response. So, or in relationship to your kids, you might be in fight, when in your relationship to your friends, you might be in a fawn response, right? I want to keep my friends happy, or I want to, or maybe I feel safe enough that I can, go toe to toe with my friends, and I can be in fight with my friends. The point is that you can and do use the different responses in different relationships. So that's something to be aware of, because sometimes people can think, well, I mainly do fight, or I mainly do fawn, but our body will choose the best based on that given situation. So it might be helpful for you to think, if you're sitting at home watching this, I would think about the relationships that matter most to you, likely your kids, your partners, your friends, your parents and siblings. In my relationships to my parents, do I tend to be in fight, flight, fawn, or freeze? And you want to think about, if something happened, if there was some sort of conflict, how might I feel? How might I respond to that? And sort of imagine being in front of that person, and imagine what your response might be. If you can feel yourself getting sort of like hot with anger, you probably tend toward fight. If you can feel yourself kind of shutting down and going inward, flight might be where you feel more comfortable. If you can see yourself sort of like overthinking and analyzing and trying to like notice all the details, maybe you'd be in freeze with that person. And if you can see yourself sort of making a joke, or trying to cheer them up, or something like that, maybe you'd be in fawn. So the suggested homework for tonight would be to try and notice in your relationships with your kids, or your partner, or your parents, or whoever it is that you're in this group to work on your relationships with, what trauma responses you tend to lean toward more often. Sorry, my cat's being kind of funny. I want to check quickly in the comments to see. See any comments. Okay. So you know about the 4 different trauma responses, and I'm sure that you'll probably have questions about those. So I will check the comments after and leave this video up for a little while so that you can ask any questions about the different responses. But what do we do about it really is what we're here to talk about, right? What do we do about it? So you might know already that you're in a fight response with somebody, or you might know already that you tend toward fawning, or whichever one, right? You might know what your pattern is, but that doesn't mean you can actually do something about it. So awareness, though, is the first step. So this is where it's important to kind of remember the stages of a skill. So with every different skill that we work on, there are going to be 4 stages. The first stage is unaware and unskilled, which means I don't know about it and I don't have any skill in that area. The second stage is aware and unskilled. So I know what the problem is, but I can't do anything about it yet. This is the stage where people tend to have the most shame because they think, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I keep doing something else. I know that I'm not supposed to be in fight, or I know I'm not supposed to fawn, but I couldn't stop myself. There's this deep feeling of shame of, I know what I should do, but I don't do that. And that shame comes from the belief that that ability and awareness are the same thing, and they are not the same thing. You can be aware of something and unskilled. So that's stage 2. Stage 3 is aware and skilled, which means I have started working toward, I've started learning the skill and I'm starting to practice that skill. And we're in stage 3 all the way up until proficiency, which is unaware and skilled, which means I'm on autopilot. I don't have to think about it anymore. I can just practice. I don't have to practice anymore. I just can do that without really thinking about it. So in all of the things that we talk about in this group, you're going to be first moving from stage 1, which is unaware and unskilled, to stage 2, which is aware but unskilled. And so that's my job, is to bring your awareness to these skills. And then in my coaching programs, I help you move from stage 2 to stage 3, which is practically how we do it. Some of those things I can help you in these lives, but a lot of these lives are about helping you understand what's going on, and then I can work on helping you fix it. But if you don't understand what's going on, you're not going to know that you need to fix it. So right now, what we've talked about is helping you have some more awareness about your trauma responses. So for this week, what I would want you to work on would be noticing how often you are in fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. What sort of situations, like that mother I was telling you about, so when I go into my kid's room and it's a mess, like, is there instant rage? Or when when my partner gives me some sort of criticism or asks something of me, do I immediately shut down? Or when my child is crying and I can't stand it, so I immediately give them the lolly that they wanted because I can't stand to hear them cry. That would be a fawn response, right? So you want to start noticing what situations are sort of emotionally flooding you and causing you to be in that triggered state, and which triggered state you tend to be in most often. So that's what I would suggest for you to do this week, is to work on your awareness of that. And some of you are ready to get to the place where you want to have hands-on help in your situation so that you can move from stage 2 to stage 3. And if that is you, you should reach out to me. You could also reach out to Christina, who helps me run this group, and she will help you figure out what the next steps would be, what resources you might need, what other free resources we might offer, or whether or not a paid option would be better for you. We can't know until we sort of dive deep into it with you and figure out what you're dealing with and what solutions might be good for your family. So if you are ready to get to that next level and start shifting out of some of these trauma responses, let us know, and we will get you either those resources or get you plugged into the right program for you. Okay, well, take care of yourself, be gentle to yourself. I will see you next week. Mark your calendars and yeah, take care. Good night.